Good afternoon. Wikipedia has a biographical explanation of Lord Stowell, or William Scott Stowell, the Baron, and it's taken from Encyclopedia Britannica of 1911. So I'll just read it. Stowell, William Scott, Baron, from 1745 to 1836 is when he lived. English judge and jurist, was born at Heworth, a village about 4 miles from Newcastle, on the 17th of October, 1745, the son of a coalfitter, or tradesman engaged in the transport of coal. His younger brother John became the famous Lord Chancellor Eldon. Scott was educated at the Newcastle Grammar School and Corpus Christi College, Oxford, where he gained a Durham scholarship in 1761. In 1764, he graduated and became first a probationary fellow and then as successor to William, afterwards the well-known Sir William Jones, a tutor of University College. As Camden Reader of Ancient History, 1774, he rivaled the reputation of Blackstone. Although he had joined the Middle Temple in 1762, it was not till 1776 that Scott devoted himself to a systematic study of law. In 1779, he graduated as a Doctor of Civil Law and, after the customary, in quotes, year of silence, end quote, commenced practice in the ecclesiastical courts. His professional success was rapid. In 1783, he became registrar of the Court of Faculties, and in 1788, judge of the consistory court and advocate general. And that year, too, receiving the honor of knighthood, and in 1798 he was made judge of the High Court of Admiralty. Sir William Scott twice contested the representation of Oxford University. In 1780, without success, but successfully in 1801. He also sat for Downton in 1790. Upon the coronation of George IV, 1821, he was raised to the peerage as Baron Stowell. After a life of distinguished judicial service, Lord Stowell retired from the bench from the consistory court in August 1821, and from the High Court of Admiralty in December 1827. His mental faculties became gradually feebler in his old age, and he died on the 28th of January 1836. Lord Stowell was twice married. In 1781 to Anna Maria, eldest daughter of the heiress of John Bagnall of Early Court, Berks, by whom he had 4 children. One of these, a daughter, survived him, and in 1813 to the dowager Marchioness of Sligo. These are quotes from somewhere. It's getting into the cases that he made decisions on. It's written in a different text here too. Lord Stowell's judgments are models alike of literary execution and judicial reasoning. His style is chaste, yet not inornate, nervous without abruptness, and perfectly adjusted in every instance to the subject with which he deals. His decisions in the cases of Dalrymple versus Dalrymple, Dr. Dodson's report, and Evans versus Evans, from their combined force and grace, from the steadiness with which every collateral issue is set aside, from their subtle insight into human motives, and from the light which they cast on marriage law, deserved and will pay and will repay attentive perusal. Lord Stowell composed with great care, and some of the MSS, I don't know what that stands for, which he revised for Haggard and Fillmore's reports, were full of interlineations. Stowell's mind was judicial rather than forensic, reasoning, not as for a dialectic victory, nor so as to convince the parties on whose suit he was deciding, but only with sufficient clearness, fullness, and force to justify the decision at which he had arrived. The chief doctrines of international law, with the assertion and illustration of which the name of Lord Stowell is identified, are these: the perfect equality and entire independence of all states, a logical deduction from the Augustinian philosophy, and still one of the fundamental principles of English jurisprudence, that the elementary rules of international law bind even semi-barbarous states, that blockade to be binding must be effectual, and that contraband of war is to be determined by probable destination. In the famous Swedish convoy case, Lord Stowell asserted that, this is in quotes, a prize court is a court not merely of the country in which it sits, but of the law of nations. The seat of judicial authority, he added, in words that have become classic, is indeed locally here in the belligerent country, but the law itself has no locality. End quote. His dictum concerning the right of a belligerent to sink a neutral ship when unable to take her before a prize court was much quoted in 1904 in reference to the sinking of the Knight Commander by the Russians in the Far East. The judgments of Lord Stowell were, almost without exception, confirmed on appeal, and they are to this day the international law of England, and have become presumptive, though not conclusive, evidence of the international law of America. This is a quote. "I have taken care," wrote Justice Story, "that they shall form the basis of the maritime law of the United States, and I have no hesitation in saying that they ought to do so in that of every civilized country in the world." I omitted all of the case references in parentheses in the last paragraph or so that I read, because it would interrupt the actual reading there.